Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to another what I would consider to be somewhat belated review. Not entirely sure if it's up just yet, but spoiler alert if it isn't, I did anti-haul at least one of these palettes prior to purchasing and reaching this point where we're doing a review. So yes, if you stay, you're obviously going to see these particular things in a anti-hauled it but bought it, but for right now we're just gonna be reviewing them. And that is two palettes from Lime Crime. This one here is the one that I anti-hauled specifically. This is the Lime Crime Greatest Hits Classics. This is just in their 8-pan format. It's $38. I am not entirely sure if this one is limited edition. I know that on the site they said that this one is, which I think is kind of stupid. But we'll be getting into that a little further down into the review. But this is just what the palette looks like here. Very reminiscent of, we would have to say, the original Lime Crime Venus palette. You have got a bunch of correlating pinky, rosy, mauve tones. It is what I am wearing on my absolutely otherworldly peepers today. And then there is the Greatest Hits Bangers. Now this is, when I initially anti-hauled this, I hadn't seen this one yet, and so when I saw this one, that's when I just kind of decided to heck with it. I'll just review both of them. Because if you have, or you will see in that anti-haul where I was like, you know, I'm really drawn towards the color story, and basically the reasoning behind me anti-hauling it is because I probably didn't really need it. It's not that I thought that it was a stupid product, it's just something that I probably shouldn't buy at the moment. But here we have this one right here, which is a beautiful selection of beautiful mattes and shimmers. I will say there are some repeats between this palette and this one. So unless you're someone who does YouTube reviews or whatever, or you're someone who uses the same kind of shades a lot, you probably don't need to buy both of them. But this one here really is the one that kind of solidified that, yeah, I kind of really do want to give that a go. We've got a beautiful mustard color, some beautiful browns, some really nice shimmers. And what these palettes are, which some people might consider to be a bit of a cop-out, as the names would suggest, these are their greatest hits, as in they've taken shades from all of their previous Venus palettes and put them in these. I only have my Venus XL. I have decluttered my original Venus, the small one, and I never really got any of the other 8 pans ones. So for me, kind of being drawn towards the color story and not having all of the other Venus palettes that they pulled colors from, it was fairly viable. For someone who collects the Venus Lime Crime palettes, this is a no-go for you because, you know, you've already got this shiz. I have heard a couple people being all like, oh, it's a cop-out and it's stupid and it's just a greatest hits collection and stuff like that. But for me, you know, this is something that I was interested in, I was drawn towards it, considering the fact that I don't have any of the other ones. I thought this would be a safe bet for me. But safe bets aside, let's just get into swatching these bad boys, and then we'll start talking about them on a whole. I love how anytime I have to do some kind of swatching, y'all know this happens, I wear long sleeves, and not even that, it's like, hey, Soraya, you know you're gonna be swatching. And I'm like, yeah? You should wear that really ornate blouse with the fancy cuffs that literally have 4 buttons. Like, yeah, you're right. I should do that. That's aesthetic. We're gonna start off with swatching the Greatest Hits Classics right here. Right off the bat, clearly, if you own the original just small Venus one, or if you own the Venus XL, the first one, you don't need this shiz. So we're just gonna start from here. So we've got Shell, which is a shade I absolutely love. It is what I have as my inner corner highlight. Then we have Divine, which is another shade that I absolutely love. It's what I started out with today. Then Venus, which I think is in the original one. I'm not sure about the XL, but Here we have them right here going on there. Next up is Mud right here, which is a beautiful red-based brown. Then we have In Bloom, which is another shade I absolutely love. Ethereal, which is beautiful. That's what I have on my eyelid today. We've got those going on right here, going on like that. Then last but not least, we've got Fresco, which is another shade I really like, even despite it having all kinds of shimmy shiny in it. And then Botticelli, which is disgustingly rough and powdery. Like, y'all, this shiz feel like sandpaper up in here. So we've got that going there. Heckin' pigmented, but really rough and kind of grainy and very textured and just not pleasant feeling for a matte. So here we have all the shades right here. Not my best swatch, whatever it is. Don't come for me in the comments down below. Your swatches suck. If I had $1 for every time somebody told me that, I would be rich. But beautiful, gorgeous, ready, rosy, purpley, mauvey, definitely my kind of colors. Now let's go into the greatest hits bangers. This palette has a lot of really pretty, unique colors. Some of them I can tell where the shades came from. I believe that's from like the Venus 3, that one as well. That one's gonna be from the Venus XL2. The duplicate shades we have in here is In Bloom right here and Divine, which I'm totally fine with because these two are two shades that I use a lot when I'm going for this kind of like rosy color story. So with them being shades that I know I use and incorporate a lot in my looks, I'm pretty fine with it. But let's just go on in. We've got a fair amount of shimmers all up in here, so I think we're just gonna go whoop, whoop, whoop this time around. And we'll start off with Beam, which is a beautiful purpley, not a duochrome, kind of like a glossy topper. Then Myth, which is really, really pretty. Again, kind of more of a glossy topper. And then Hail right here, which is kind of like it's like a silvery taupey green. I really, really like it. I think it's a very unique shade. And we will have these right here. We have those going on there. You can see that's just a really, really unique shade. Next up is Dreamy right here, which is, I used it right here on my lower lash line. Then we have Heavenly, which is, as the name would suggest, quite heavenly. Then Radiant, which is like, okay, I mean, yeah. Let me see if I can show you on the swatches. I apologize for being so washed out. There it is right there. Like, it's pretty. I feel like it could be just a bit more, but it is very pretty. Then we have Ripe right here, which is just a beautiful, beautiful grungy mustardy brown. Then we have Crown, which is a very pretty peachy champagne shimmer. Shell, absolutely love this shade. One of my absolute favorite end all be all shimmer shades. If Lime Crime were ever to do singles and they didn't release that in one, I would be very, very disappointed. It is just absolutely beautiful, pinky, peachy, rosy gloriousness. And that one I know is one from the original Venus, that original Venus palette, and it just has been a shade that I've been using for years. Then we have Divine again, then we have Mud, and we have Mustard, which I absolutely love. That is from the Venus 2. And we've got those going on right here. That mustard shade is just absolutely to die for. Y'all know I love that grungy aesthetic shiz, and if there's something that Lime Crime does well, it's grungy aesthetic shiz. Then last row here, we have got Muse, which is just y'all know I live for these shades. We've got In Bloom. We have Jam here, which is just, ugh, look at that. It is so stunning. Here we have them right here. Oh, that Jam one down there, just absolutely gorgeous. All kinds of shiz that I want all up on my face. Then last but not least, we have Flora here, which is another absolutely beautiful shade. We have Aura, which is like, it's not a like, it's a good, soft, subtle inner corner highlight, I feel. Then we have Pigeon, which is a really beautiful shade from the Venus 2. So here we have them here. You can see the Pigeon shade is kind of that like green, bluey, browny, shifty thing that was like MAC did it, and then all the other companies had it, and like a whole bunch of different brands all had that kind of shifty, greeny, bluey, browny, whatever shade that used to be MAC, but other companies can do it now too. So here we have all the shades. Like the first, not my best swatch situation, but they actually maintained to stay a little bit straight, so I guess that's okay. There are a lot of shades in here that I think are really, really pretty. I love this one here. This one is really beautiful. Basically, if it's a matte, I really enjoy it. I love, y'all know I love this one, obviously. This one is really pretty. This one is really pretty. That one. I mean, it's just a really nice collection of varying mattes and shimmers to a point where you could really, I feel, play it up in different ways. Okay, now let's talk about these bad boys on a whole. First things first. Number one, if you have the original Venus or the Venus XL, you do not need this. And I'm not talking in a, oh yeah, you already have these tones. No, you literally already have these colors in their exactness in your collection. If you're someone who hasn't purchased those and you're thinking about purchasing them, I think this would be a great option. I always forget how much I enjoy Lime Crime eyeshadows because they spend the majority of their time releasing stupid shiz that I don't buy. And then when they do something like this that is a good, solid, though repetitive color story, but it has a really nice formula. It blended really well. It goes really well. Lime Crime has a very underrated eyeshadow formula, mostly because they don't give it enough time to shine. Like, they're just out here releasing all kinds of random stupid stuff that when they go back to their basics, their roots, it's just like, yes, a breath of fresh air. So I probably didn't need this. I have the Venus XL. I don't have the original one, so I'm really happy to have this one in my collection now. I know I am gonna get a lot of use out of it because your girl likes pinky, rosy, ready tones. It's a color story I reach for a lot. I like having different options to offer for you all to kind of get the same look. I was really happy with how my eyeshadow turned out today. Blended beautifully, even though Botticelli was the roughest, driest, awful feeling. It applied and blended really nicely, even on this section over here where I have, I don't know, a spot on my eyelid that doesn't want to accept color. It worked even well all on that. Is it totally worth the $38 price point? Probably wouldn't have got these if they weren't having a site-wide sale, but you know, it's good quality. I can vouch for it. Then we have the large one, which gets just a little bit more complicated because it pulls shades from a bunch of different other palettes. You know, we've got the Venus XL2, we've got Venus 3, we've got Venus 2, you know, a whole bunch of different things going in, pulling in to make this color story. I'm actually kind of sad that this one is limited edition because when I saw this, just the picture like this, I initially thought it was another Venus XL palette, and I was like, shut up and take my money. I love it. I was just really drawn to these beautiful, earthy, grungy tones right here. I loved the collection of shimmers. Like, even taking aside the fact that this is a palette literally curated from shades that they already have, I thought the color story was very well put together. And so coming from the point of if you're someone who's been sort of drawn toward Lime Crime, but haven't been purchasing all of their Venus palettes, I think this would be a fantastic thing to buy instead, because you're kind of getting the the highlights. You know, you're not getting all the excess that's in the other ones. You're getting all the nice little curated beautiful bits. As I said, there are some shades in here from palettes that I already have that I love, that I'm totally fine having multiples of because they're just such good shades, especially for the kind of color stories I like to do. And then it plays it up enough with having the mustard and the pigeon and the mud and the ripe, you know, and you got the little green if you want to go green, a little purple if you want to go purple. It's just disjointed enough to be kind of artsy-fartsy creative-like, but then cohesive enough so that it isn't like you look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, it's just a bunch of eyeshadow vomit. So I think taking into the whole, if you don't have a bunch of the Lime Crime and you're wanting to get into that, this and the other one, absolutely fantastic. I'm actually kind of happy that I didn't go in and buy a bunch of the other ones, because that's $38 for 8 shades. And then getting this and the other one kind of quelled that temptation of wanting to get all those other ones. So we spent less money, we're taking up less space, and we're still getting a really good experience. And can we talk about the packaging here? Say what you will about Lime Crime, but they're really good at nailing a solid aesthetic. These are just absolutely stunning. And I love the fact that the roses, the colors on the outside correlate to what's inside. You've got all the rosy tones, you've got kind of this gray one, this little green one, you've got the mustard one, and all the shades correlate to what you're getting on the inside. So unlike the Venus XL2, the packaging isn't a disingenuous representation of the color story you're gonna get on the inside. So all in all, I think, yeah, like I said, you know, it reminds me how much I actually do enjoy the Lime Crime eyeshadow formula. I wish they would stop doing foolishness like Christmas palettes and birthday palettes and stuff like that. I wish they would take the time to literally sit and curate good, solid color stories, because they have very underrated formulas. They're kind of kitschy and hypey and gimmicky. I feel like they don't have the same kind of solid reputation as you would say like Anastasia or even Urban Decay or Too Faced or those brands, where you don't think, yes, Lime Crime eyeshadows, I need those in my life. So I think this is a good step forward for them, and I really hope that they take the time to literally do and curate more good eyeshadow palettes, because like I said, this reminded me just how much I really enjoy their formula when they do it right. I would love to hear what y'all have to say about these palettes down below. I know a couple of y'all were all like, did you see that Lime Crime literally took eyeshadows that they already had and put them in a palette? And I was kind of like, yeah, I saw that. I anti-hauled it and then I bought that shiz because I have issues. But I'm kind of glad I did, because I really enjoy the eyeshadows. And it's kind of like you're like, taking it back to your roots and like, I remember Lime Crime eyeshadows. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. And as always, keep it real. Mwah!